when I got into Ivory Coast, on the way here, I asked the cab driver what he knows about Uganda, and he mentioned. Can we have the next slide, please? La prochaine. Next slide. I don't know who's manning the slides. Okay, I think somebody edited my slides. But anyway, he mentioned Eddie Kenzo. Now, Eddie Kenzo is a musician in Uganda, and is apparently famous here in Ivory Coast. And to be fair, if you asked a Ugandan cab driver what he knows about Ivory Coast, he'll probably mention Didier Drogba. Now, thanks to GMES and Africa, we have the opportunity to broaden that narrative so that we can now invest and harness the use of geospatial technologies. And I don't know where I should point. Where should I point? Okay. Yeah, so that was what was supposed to come. So this is the iconic Didier Drogba of Ivory Coast. And like I've mentioned, GMES and Africa enabled us to broaden the narrative about our involvement, what we can do and how we can do it. And we have been able to get together within our consortia. I'm hoping I haven't missed any consortia. I would be in big trouble. And we now have the possibility to be known by our science, by our interventions, by how we are solving societal challenges. Now, the challenge is that for a long time, we have been like those strands of wool. I am not proud to say that before GMES and Africa, I didn't know about ICPAC, which is a consortium in Kenya. You know, think of all the opportunities I missed because of not knowing who they are, where they are. But thanks to GMES and Africa, we have been able to make a beautiful tapestry of geospatial users, educators, and all throughout Africa. I now know Professor Dube from the Western Cape, and my friend Mustafa in Tunis, from Professor Faye from Professor Faye in Senegal up to Professor Shimanga in Congo. This is something that we lacked. I have been privileged to have been involved with AARSE, Africa, GIS, and we've had the opportunity to know who is doing what, where. But GMES and Africa has enabled us weave together a beautiful tapestry of geospatial users. We now have an appreciation of who is doing what, where. It has given us the leeway to work together. My big sister, Professor Jen Ulochi, last time was telling us that information is key. We now have a lot of information of who is doing what, where. If my senior brother, Professor Tidiane, says, Anthony, you are not going in phase 2, I can still look back to the dividends I have gained from phase 1. And one of them is this beautiful network of professionals, of people. You know, previously, you know, out of GMES, you think of a reason why Uganda would come to West Africa to play soccer, to compete. To be fair, East Africans don't like coming to West Africa. West Africans are not very generous when it comes to soccer. So the mindset has always been about competition. But through GMES and Africa, we have an opportunity to weave our talents, our hopes, expectations, our desires. And this is all possible because of the generosity of GMES and Africa. Now, I just thought we would reflect on a few known facts about our beautiful continent. As we all know, projections by the United Nations show that world population will hit 10 billion people by 2025. Approximately 95% of this growth will take place in low and middle income countries. Of this growth, Africa will account for 57% of the growth. In particular, the population of sub-Saharan Africa is projected to double by 2050, and almost 60% of Africa's population is under the age of 25, making us the youngest continent. So we have this burgeoning, you know, youth that is coming up, and more are in the pipeline. And we also know that Africa is likely to be the continent most vulnerable to climate change. The other fact that we got, that we were reminded of on the opening day, was that 60% of Africa's land is in Africa. And all of these together, you know, make it known to us that we have opportunity as well as challenge. And without doubt, investment in education, science, and technology presents us with the best means of harnessing the opportunities, you know, availed and addressing the challenges. So we need this investment, and Earth observation is one of the best opportunities that we have as a prime mover for effecting change. Now, GMES and Africa has made it possible for us to galvanize, this critical mass of Earth observation users across Africa by supporting the development of products and services across various focus areas. And personally, I have been very, very amazed at the progress that we have made as consortia. Those who were in Zanzibar, I think, I gave an illustration. When I studied remote sensing in the mid-90s, I actually say we studied by rumors, because for a whole year I did GIS, I did remote sensing, I never saw any satellite image, never saw any software, nothing. But you know, you had to memorize what a pixel was. You had to memorize what overlaying was. You had to memorize. Maybe in West Africa you were better off, but for us, it was this fascinating thing that we studied. And I remember when I started lecturing, students would ask me, but sir, is this appropriate here? Is it relevant? What can we do? How can we use it? 20 years on, 20 plus years on, we have numerous applications, we have numerous products and numerous services. And as far as applications areas are concerned, we are only limited by our imagination. Professor Jane gave us a flavor of some of the application areas. And that is by no means even a small fraction of what we can do with Earth observation. So there is potential. There is so much more that we can do. We have done so much, but there's a lot more that we can do. And in the framers of GMES and Africa, crucial to the absorption and utilization of Earth observation has been the role of universities, private sector, and of course, the end users. Now, as a forum, part of the RCMRD and RCMRD consortium, we were involved in, you know, assessing the market needs. What were the needs of the people in industry? And led by my senior brother, Degelo Sendava, the indefatigable coordinator, he moved throughout the region, sourcing, you know, what are our challenges? Of course, a lot of what we had to do was constrained within, the theme areas but he went and did a beautiful work of going around the region, asking various stakeholders, asking various users how they want, what they want, and in what format they want information. And this guided us in how we developed our training strategy. And we had two categories of trainings. One is what I would refer to as general trainings, but also we had trainings specifically intended to make prominent or address the service areas that we were assigned as part of this forum. So those are some of the training sessions that we had: GMES and Africa services for focal persons, open source training, Earth observation for decision makers, and the impact tool. As part of the service areas, Mr. Degelo went through this yesterday. We had 3 service areas, and under land degradation monitoring and assessment, we had 3 trainings, 3 categories of training, not 3 the number of trainings that we had. So we had various trainings about these particular tools that were developed. Land degradation monitoring and assessment was developed from RCMRD, and wind erosion modeling, land productivity monitoring and assessment using Earth observation were tools made by the private sector. I remember when we were in Senegal, Professor Tidiane was always insistent. Private sector, where are they? Where are they in your plan of action? And for us, these are some of the places, these were some of the action points for the private sector. Using their experience, they developed tools that were appropriate and needed and were needed in the different areas. So we developed training based on the tools that they have made. We also had, for the service area of wetlands monitoring and assessment, those are the 2 trainings that we had. And service area 3, open geographical regional reference vector database for water and agroecological zones. We have been reflecting on geospatial web services, and I will be talking briefly about that. So this is the flyer that we used for the training, online training workshop on geospatial techniques in land productivity monitoring. GeoMIC is a private consultancy, and they developed this tool, and we did a training on Zoom. And remember, this was on the backdrop of the COVID outbreak. So we had to explore new spaces, and Zoom was one of them, and we had so many challenges. This is another training, wetland vulnerability analysis by ESIPS, and the fascinating thing is that for land productivity, we had around 300 participants. For wetland vulnerability analysis, we hosted around 700 people from all over Africa. So, like I said, it gave us new opportunities, new spaces to operate in. But that also meant we had to face new challenges as well. We also had this training on geospatial web services, where we're introducing participants to spatial data infrastructures and fair data principles, geospatial standards and formats, and sort of developing a cadre of people who can have their data shareable. And this is a training that we will be offering, and if you're interested, I can give you the link to this. We shall be having it next week. So we also had our scholars from the region, and we had 4 from Ethiopia, 2 from Kenya, 1 from Rwanda, 1 from Uganda. And as you can see, we were able to ensure gender parity. And I can assure you the ladies are there on merit. They are not there because they are women, but they had good work. And you can see the Deputy Director General of RCMRD awarding the Certificate of Participation. And we refer to our scholars as RCMRD, GMES, and Africa scholars. And so this was at a conference that we had. So my time is out, so I'll just conclude by saying the information that we have this resource, the GMES and Africa digital learning platform, where a lot of the training, not only for our consortia, but for all the other consortia, is posted there. RCMRD has also got an e-learning platform, and probably my boss, Degelo, will present shed more light about it. And a lot of the trainings that we have posted on a YouTube channel, and later on we hope to escalate this to the digital learning platform. And my wish list for phase 2 is that we will work on a GMES and Africa University network on Earth observation. I am hoping that we shall be able to have some student and staff mobility. There is a way in which travel opens your mind and changes your perspective and enables you appreciate our Pan-Africanism. And the students who always travel come back different and more motivated. I'm hoping we can have an investment in innovation. I'm hoping we can have more institutions in GMES and Africa. Many institutions have been left out, but I'm hoping that we can have them come on board. And when we were in Gabon, there was this mantra, which, it was very catchy, but unfortunately, in the years since then, it has died down, from the pixel to the village. It was very catchy and very sounding, but somehow along the way, we seem to have missed it out. I'm hoping that we can bolster our efforts and bolster our efforts and make alive geospatial technologies to the neediest people in our communities. And with those few words, I would like to say thank you. If you look carefully, you may find thank you in your language, but I want to thank GMES and Africa for the privilege of being part of this wonderful community. I would like to thank the European Union for the funding, and I would like to thank all of you for your audience. Murakoze cyane.